Hey, Amy,
Yeah, Juan?
give me that beat.
It's Baseball Shangri-La with Amy Cuevas and Juan Ramirez.
What's up, party people? Welcome to another episode of Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez. Let's get the business out of the way. If you are listening to us on the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Rate us, write us a review. So for those of you hearing that in the background right now, totally disrupted. I am house sitting a dog, and his name is Mookie. Mookie. And he was
Don't
quiet.
yell at Mookie.
So what cracked me up was he was quiet the whole time, all day. He's been by my side working here. He is my mother-in-law's dog. Okay. So we are watching it, and he's been quiet all day. And of course, the minute I start recording, Mookie, calm down.
I am so looking forward to you yelling at Mookie through this whole episode.
my apologies to our viewers and our listeners. So just to give you a visual of who Mookie is, Mookie's like this. He's a terrier. I don't know if he's like it's like the dog in Lady and the Tramp. I think he's a Boston Terrier. Do you know? You're nodding your head, Amy. So you know what I'm talking about, right?
The tramp, the dog who plays the tramp.
The older, like, Scottish dog or something.
Oh, the one who's the Scottish dog. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh.
the Scottish dog. There you go. That's what Mookie looks like. Okay. And yes, Mookie was named after Mookie Betts. So my wife got my mother-in-law this dog. And when they were coming up with the names for it, my mother-in-law is a big Mookie Betts fan. So she decided to call him Mookie. But Mookie is this tiny little nervous dog. And we has this little dog bed here on the other side of our studio, my studio. And of course, he's been quiet all day. And of course, the minute we start recording, Mookie starts going crazy. He probably saw somebody
so hard that my eyes teared up.
Great. So before we so rudely interrupted by Mookie, and by the way, let's just turn this into a drinking game, guys. Every time Mookie starts barking, go ahead and have yourself a drink. But as I was saying before we were so rudely interrupted by Mookie, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Make sure you hit that notification button, give us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, and make sure you're following us on social media at X, at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. I'm also, I think, as a part of this, I'm going to post a picture of Mookie. I have some pictures of Mookie calm throughout the day so you guys can see. And maybe I'll post a picture of me berating Mookie for making me look bad.
I love it. I'm looking forward to the variations of how you're going to call him out this episode. So,
Amy, how was your weekend, by the way?
It was great. I got to watch the game on Saturdays. I have my scorecards already. It was good. How was yours?
It was fantastic because we had Mookie this weekend. And of course, Mookie just doesn't leave my wife's side. So not only is Mookie a little dog, he's also a blocker. So I'm going to leave that up to your guys' imagination on that. But before we start the show, let's go ahead and
also an excellent movie, by the way.
Which
Blockers?
movie?
Did you not see Blockers with John Cena?
I should have been. Why did I not like?
Why
does that not surprise me? Okay, before we get into the show, this is a burning question here because I know. I think you're a good person to answer this debate. John Cena, who is the better wrestling actor? Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Batista, or John Cena?
We can't do that. They're all good in different ways. Oh man. I'm going to have to go with The Rock, then John Cena, and then Batista.
You know, John Cena to me is very underrated, especially comedic wise.
They're tied to me. They're tied.
the blockers, and I think his work in the HBO Max series, The Peacemaker. His work there is really underappreciated. Amy, I have to tell you, 5 minutes into the show, I did not think we were going to go and have ourselves a conversation in terms of who was the better actor that came from the wrestling world between John Cena, The Rock, and Batista, because I know that Batista is really coming for The Rock and wants to be known as the best wrestler to come out of the WWE. But I
That's cute. Oh,
Batista's
no.
in some good movies. Batista's been in some good movies.
He has, but I don't know. I think Cena and The Rock have a little bit more range in what I've seen them in, and so that's where my opinion stands. This is my line.
I love that Amy just said that The Rock and Cena have more range than Batista. Everybody, take whatever you want with that comment. But let's officially start the show the way we always start, because this show has completely gone off the rails right now. Thanks to Mookie. We're breaking down, we're talking about The Rock and John Cena like it's Al Pacino versus Robert De Niro. But at this point, let's start the show officially, Amy. We start every show with our base running blunders. Do we have any base running blunders, Amy?
I think we corrected them after the last one, so assuming nobody reached out to you, I think we fixed all of ours. So
Okay, we had 2 games. The last 2 games, we were pretty bad on the base path. So I'm glad that we're good. We're back on track. We started our streak. Our streak is at 1. So let's get into it. Amy, the Dodgers arrived in, let's just start with them arriving in Korea, because I keep hearing this talk on social media that it was like, this is what it must have felt like to travel with the Beatles. Other people saying like, this is what it was traveling with Michael Jordan. What did you see as the Dodgers arrived in Korea, Amy?
I saw a lot of excited people. I was really happy for them that, like, I've heard things across social media from other people of like, why do we have to go play in another country? And to me, it's just like, why wouldn't we? We are trying to grow the game. We call it the World Series. It's kind of a joke around people of like, oh, the World Series against the Cardinals or the Yankees. And it's like, no, if we're going to bring players in from all over, then we need to be growing the sport all over too. So I was really excited that they got a good I guess homecoming. I don't know what you call that. A celebration when they arrived. I will admit that me and my friend did do a deep dive on the egg that almost hit Dave Roberts.
Okay, that was going to be my question, Amy. I need you to break it down like the Zapruder film here, okay? Because I saw the video or the picture that the guy posted. I couldn't see an egg, but please tell
Okay.
me, back
Okay.
and to the left.
No,
Back
we're
and
not
to the
back into
left.
the left. No, no, no. We're not doing that this episode. So they're walking. You've got like Dave Roberts and his entourage, and then you've got he's preceded by some cameras. The egg that was thrown, if you slow down the video, it actually went between. So it almost hit the photographers, it almost hit Dave Roberts, but it didn't actually hit him. When I heard it, I was like, did he get pegged? But he didn't. So the egg missed. Apparently, the person who threw it was detained immediately and might have some mental health issues. So that's being addressed. But Dave did not, in fact, get hit.
So how long was Manny Machado held or detained for at the airport?
They didn't specify, but I'm sure he'll be able to play. When
Because that's the theory, right? It was Manny Machado who was the one that was throwing the egg, because he got
I
there
had not
early.
heard that, but I would not be surprised.
So if you guys haven't seen the pictures or the video, I mean, there was a very, at least to me, I don't know what the number was or how large this the size of the people that were waiting for the Dodgers to arrive, but it seemed like a significant number of people in this airport, and I have to wonder, that must have been a nightmare for security. But I don't think those people had boarding passes. How did they get past TSA, Amy?
That was one of my thoughts when I was looking at the images, but I'm assuming it's probably coming out of that area. So, when you leave that portion of the airport, there's always that once you cross that security line, now other people can actually get in. So I'm assuming that's where everybody was. But you could see they had like they had like the walking path, they had security, you could see Dodgers security, you could see, I'm assuming, a police presence as well, and they were following each group that you saw go through. So it looks like they had had it as mapped out as well as they could, aside from the egg, but nobody was hit. So here we are.
And I get that the references to the Beatles are an exaggeration, but the Michael Jordan one I don't think is that far off, because if you ever saw the documentary on the Dream Team, when the Dream Team was traveling around Europe, that's how you saw crowds reacting to trying to get a glance of Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and all those guys. So that must have been a great experience. But then, of course, on the social media, we start seeing the Dodgers as they're touring Korea. And one of the things I want to give a shout out to is fellow member of the Stalloners Club. The Dodgers media put out a lot of pictures of James Outman. Amy, you're shaking your head. You saw what he was wearing. He
Oh
was
no,
wearing,
I was shaking my head at you and your Stalloner's Club. Carry on.
no, he was wearing the official uniform of the Stalloners Club in the pictures when he was eating. Am I wrong?
You know what? I don't think I looked that closely, so that's my bad. But I will do a deep dive after today's episode.
All right, you guys better follow me on social media, because I will be tagging Amy and showing her the proof that James Outman was repping the Stalloners Club in Korea,
Is this
because
the same shirt I took a picture? I had a picture
yes,
of at. Okay, all right.
he has it as a sweatshirt, but I have it as a t-shirt.
Okay, well then you got
And
yes, you guys are just two birds of a feather.
look, this is important because I feel like there's a lot of people that live in the shadows. They're afraid to fly their Stallone flag, but this is a safe space, and this is for all my fellow people who want to be a part of the Stalloners Club. We have open membership. Feel free. We like to spread the love on Stallone. If you want to be a Stalloner, I know we've had listeners on this show before. They've tagged me on social media and said, Juan, I am part of the Stalloners Club. So I just love that James Outman was in Korea repping the Stalloners Club.
So
And
it's a support group? Is that?
it's in a marching and chowder. In the words of the fabulous, the late great Vince Scully, it's the Marching and Chowder Society for Sylvester Stallone. That is what the Stalloners Club is.
Okay, I
But
just looked. He does have a black hoodie on with Stallone on it. Okay, I see it.
and
You
it was the same
vindication.
one. It was the same one that you took a picture of when we were at the Mookie Bowling event that he was wearing.
Okay. I thought it was different, but maybe I thought he was wearing a shirt on that one. I will
No.
do some homework.
No, I have the shirt. You're confusing me with
Oh,
Outman,
okay. All
which
right.
you might be the only person in the world that makes that confusion of me and Outman.
Yeah, you're right. And I apologize. This was almost a base running blunder in that respect. And thank you for saving me from myself.
Damn, this
Whew,
show's on
it was
fire today. We
it
got
was
Mookie
close.
ruining the show, and now we spend way too much time on the Stalloners Club. But Amy, what I was trying to get to after my love of the Stalloners Club took too long was this whole thing of them touring Korea and Dodger social media taking a picture. I know that these games count against the show pods, but does this not just feel like a further bonding event for this team? Like these guys are just out there, just hanging out in Korea.
Yeah, and I think that was actually brought up on something I saw on social media that if they weren't bonded before, this is going to bond them even more. Going out, touring the city. I think some of my favorite things, like getting to see all the food that they're trying, makes me so hungry. But my favorite was, I think it was on Instagram. The Dodgers posted a whole sequence of all the players, and then you see Gavin Lux with McDonald's, and then he's in the comments below, like, "Hey, I tried other food too." Like making sure it was known, like he did try some of the Korean food, but he also grabbed McDonald's.
Poor Gavin Lux. I mean, this guy catches, I think, more strays than anyone on the team. He catches all the strays for his defense. And I saw it. All I saw was like, bro, you went to Korea and you got McDonald's?
He came to his own defense, and you know what? Good for you, Gavin. You can have both. Maybe he wanted to try what McDonald's tasted like in Korea.
Yeah, look, I can't blame the guy if he's not adventurous when it comes to food. I can't hold it against him, but
He was, though. He said they just didn't post those pictures of him. There's another one up there where they posted him eating something else. So it was more, I think, just for fun, but he did try some other stuff. So good for him.
so what you're saying is Sue Joe did him dirty. Sujo did him dirty by posting that McDonald's. She knew what she was doing then.
I mean, you only get so many pictures you can post on Instagram. So, she could only put so many. Who knows?
So the Dodgers arrive in Korea, and it's pandemonium. They have 2 exhibition games before they actually play the show pods, and I think people were going nuts, the reaction. But Amy, I have to say this. I don't know how new this is. If anybody watched the World Baseball Classic games, that's how the environment was in the World Baseball Classic games. I remember when the World Baseball Classic was at Dodger Stadium and Japan was playing, and I was in there. It was great because they had out in the left field pavilion where the left field pavilion locos sit, there was somebody with a giant drum, and the drum was going like the whole game. The section where I was sitting, there were a group of women that were dressed up as frogs, but I don't want to say, I don't know if they were Sanrio frogs. They had the hats with, I don't know, but it was something related to Japanese. But I mean, there is definitely an energy, a very palpable energy. And I know a lot of people were saying, oh, we should have that kind of energy here in the States. I was like, we do have that energy. It's just different. I mean, when you're at Dodger Stadium in between innings, I mean, DJ Severe is always playing the hits. He's playing the Tigers of the North or whatever, the latest beat is. But what did you think of the in-game entertainment that was happening in Korea?
Good for them. If that's how they want to celebrate it, I feel like you said, we have our thing at Dodger Stadium. If this is theirs, like we just get to see how they conduct their sport. And I think as an observer and a spectator, I think it's really cool to see how theirs works out. Like I think Oral and Joe were describing it. Oh, I think it was on this morning's game. I watched it after the fact, but talking about how like even the setups are different. Like this section has its own set of speakers, and this one has a totally different choreographed dance with their own speakers, and then they have the overarching speakers, and then the chants, and everybody kind of knows what they're doing. And I was like, good for them.
You mentioned dance. I know the dance team was a very big hit. Now, is that what officially are they a dance team or are they cheerleaders? There was a group that was on top of the Dodger dugout that were wearing actual Dodger jerseys. I think they were referring to them as a dance team, but I know they got a lot of pub on social media.
I'm not sure what they're called, but didn't they have them spread out? Didn't the home team also have their own with their own jerseys too?
Yeah, it was 2 different sets. There was one
Yeah.
specifically for the Dodgers and one for whoever they were playing.
And I was like, how cool that they set some up with the away teams jerseys, and they still had their own dances too. Like talk about inclusion. Like that was, I don't know, it made me smile. Like good for them.
Yeah, it's like a different level of energy there. They also had a beer chugging competition in between innings. It really seemed like it was a giant party in the stands. And I know Tyler Glass now said that he wanted MLB to adopt the Korean baseball atmosphere, like with the chants and the songs in between innings or even during innings. Look, I don't know if that would ever take off in the States in Major League Baseball. But everything that he described, that's what happens in football. Like if you go to an
Mhm.
LAFC game, that's what they're doing the whole match. They have chants, they have songs, but and it's nonstop. You sit where the 32-52 is, and I think that's part of the excitement. That was part of what made me an LAFC fan. When I went there for the first time and experienced that environment, regardless of what the result was, whether LAFC won or not, I became a season ticket holder because I was like, this is fun. I like doing that. Do you think that that's something that would ever play at Dodger Stadium?
I wonder because I know we're trying to grow the sport. We're trying to get in younger demographics in there. I think the older demographics might be against it. I think it also depends on like the level of distraction too. So it sounds like Tyler Glasnow doesn't think it would be a distraction. I'd be curious what other baseball players think. I know for me, I am anti beach ball. Um but I like to watch the game. I'm usually there keeping score. I just if they adopted it, if it made the game more exciting, you know, sure. But do you
But
think that would actually happen?
no, and you mentioned the reason why I don't think it happened. People have conniptions over the beach ball. People have conniptions over the wave. Can you imagine how people would start reacting if people started singing some Dodgers song in the middle of the inning?
See, I would prefer that over beach balls, and I have a reason why I don't like beach balls. It's not just like, "Oh, it's fun, I hate fun." I've been there when people have bopped it and you don't know it's coming, it hits you in the back of the head, or there was a gal carrying 4 beers, which we know was like $100 worth of beer, down the stairs. Somebody hit it right at her, it toppled all of her beers, half of them fell on me. So now she's got all this money wasted, and she almost fell. Like, to me, that's more of a safety concern than it is anything. But if you're doing cheers, you're not hurting anybody. So I guess that's where my line is.
So your line is you're against the beach ball being used as a weapon, and that's why you don't want the beach ball there.
Yeah, I mean it's an accidental weapon, but yeah.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I just don't think it would ever fly because, like I said, if people can't handle the wave and they can't handle beach ball in the stands, there's no way that because the minute someone starts singing, the song, you're going to have somebody in the stands yelling, "Pay attention to the game! I came here to pay to watch the game."
It's more strategic to me. The thing with the wave is like, guys, don't do it when our pitcher's pitching and they're trying to like make it over the plate. But, if we end up polling pitchers and they're like, the wave doesn't bother me, or you know what, chanting wouldn't be a big deal, then you know what, go for it. We were talking, I think I brought up for love of the game before we jumped on this episode. And it's like, if you can get up on that mound and you can clear the mechanism like Kevin Costner did, then go for it. Let's do chants. If that makes the game more exciting, let's do it.
I mean, do you remember Thundersticks? Like I remember when the Angels were doing their playoff run, and I mean, it was so loud you could hear it coming through the television. Like that to me is like a real home field advantage, right? I can't imagine what it must feel like to be playing through that because I mean that stuff was loud, and to me it just added to the intensity, to the excitement of the match, and that's what to me of the game. That's to me, I feel like what has come through during, and these are just exhibition games. I mean, I don't know if this is the attendance for game one or for game two, but they had almost 15,000 in that stadium, and it was a stadium that seats, I believe, a little over 16,000, and this is for an exhibition game, and they just seemed like they were going at it for all 9 innings.
Hmm.
Are you trying to correct me in real time right now? Is that what's
No,
happening?
I'm just getting the attendance. Yeah. If you
Uh,
want it, I have it ready.
all right, go ahead. Let's go to the update desk.
Saturdays was 14,671 and Mondays was 14,856.
Okay, so it was for the second game. I'm
Mhm.
surprised that they weren't both sellouts though, because it wasn't capacity over 16,000.
Yeah,
I
I
think
thought
for those.
so. Yeah, I could have sworn I had it in my notes somewhere.
So we'll see what the attendance numbers actually look for the show pods and the Dodgers games that are coming fairly soon. And that to me is a perfect segue to the Dodgers Korea roster. And so we saw the Dodgers are taking 31 players, or they took 31 players with them to Korea. Now only 26 are going to be available for the games that are playing on a Tuesday, on Wednesday and Thursday. Amy, I know of the 31 that were on there. We already know some of them have been optioned, so we know they're not going to play once they play the show pods.
Yeah, so you had mentioned Landon Knack, and then Miguel Vargas was announced the other day. I'm curious if players like Hunter Fiducia, was he one of the ones that was optioned? I'm trying to recall
Yeah,
now.
Fiducia has been optioned. Like if we look at that 31 and those people on this roster, I think we can deduce what the opening day roster is going to look like when they come back to the States. Like for me, what I find interesting is so we already have two that we
And
can
I
take
and I
off.
apologize now that you have Mookie in your background. It just started raining over here, so if you hear any tapping, that's it hitting the roof
Don't worry
side.
about it. It's nothing. Maybe that's what freaked Mookie out because we were having lightning back where I in my neck of the woods. So, hey,
Okay.
So I think Mookie might have gotten scared by that. But if you look at the roster of the 31 players that were on this travel roster, we can already scratch two off, and that is Miguel Vargas and Landon Neck. What I find interesting, and I think we can then also scratch out Hunter Fiducia.
Mhm.
So that's three players, because I think when it comes to catcher, they're only going to carry two catchers, and it's going to be Will Smith and Austin Barnes. For me, I think where we're going to get those other two players are going to be in the pitchers section. And this is where it's going to get really interesting, right? Gus Varlin, I think he's already been announced as being, I think, optioned. So that's it. That's four. So there's one more. And this is where I want to tie in what Dave Roberts said. Dave Roberts said that Kyle Hurt has a strong possibility of making the opening day roster. And I know that Dodger fans have been pining for this guy ever since he made his debut last year, when he was going through a list of Hall of Famers in 2 innings. But this is what Kyle Hurt has done this spring training. He's pitched three and 2/3 innings. He's got 4 Ks, and his whip is 1.36. I get it that if you combine what he did last year with what he did in this spring, it looks impressive, but it's also a very, very small sample size. Amy, before we start playing this musical chairs with the Dodgers roster, what are your initial thoughts on Kyle Hurt?
I mean, he's been in the small sample size, he's been pretty consistently good. So it would be interesting to see if we could ramp him up, obviously, like, throw him in the bullpen. I don't know. I mean, he did really great closing out the game the other night. He came in the latter part of the 7th inning, so he pitched a third of that, got a strikeout right away, and then pitched the next 2 innings and sat all 3 batters down in both innings right away. It was 3 up, 3 down. So, I mean, he got 5 strikeouts in the span of, I'm just counting here, 1, 2, 3, 7 batters. Like, not too shabby. Give him a shot.
Okay, so here's where we're going to play the game. If you put him on there, then who are you sending down? Because so far, Miguel Vargas, Hunter Fiducia, Gus Varlin, Landon Neck. So there's one more. So if you're going to keep Kyle Hurt, who of those relievers are you sending down? Because here's the thing. The Dodgers, there's Ryan Yarbrough, but the only other lefty they have is Alex Vesia. And I feel like Alex Vesia is always a candidate to be sent down. But the Dodgers added Daniel Hudson to the 40-man roster. And as a result of that, they have DFA'd fan favorite on this show, Lipschitz. Andre Lipschitz was
That is
DFA'd.
not how you say his name. It is Lipsius.
Oh, yes. Again.
Yes. Say it again. Say it again.
Andre Lipschitz. And I just want you to know something.
We'll work on that.
One of our listeners actually, when the news broke, sent me a message saying Lipschitz is gone. He literally said, he spelled it out, Lipschitz.
You are recruiting others for your...
We have an impact on this show. That's all I'm saying, is the people are listening.
That's not a good one.
All right, Lipsius.
Okay.
So here's the thing. So Daniel Hudson is on the 40-man, okay? And he doesn't have options. So he's not going to be sent down. So for me, if you're going to keep Kyle Hurt up, then is it JP? Is that who you're going to send down? Who are you sending down, Amy?
Does Grove have any options?
I think Grove does have options.
So for now, I would send Grove down to get a little bit more consistency in the minors and then bring him back up. I would do that twofold. I want to see how Kyle Hurt produces on a bigger sample size, see if he can keep it up, especially in the majors. And then if he can't, then you swap him and see how Michael Grove can keep up, because he's had a little bit of an up and down. He's gotten a little better recently, but
okay, so I can see maybe Grove being sent down in not being put on the active roster for the Korea series. I mean, he looked good. I mean, he pitched the first 2 innings of this, but and we're going to get into this right now with Gavin Stone. I think once they come back to the States, I know people are really high on Kyle Hurt. I just don't think at the beginning of the season you had the luxury of having him start the season in the minor leagues. Uh, if these other guys don't pan out, you're gonna cut bait with them pretty much. I feel like let's see if you can use these guys. I feel Kyle Hurt is going to be a guy who's going to get called up during the season because one of the names that's not on this active roster is Brusdar Graterol. It looks like Brusdar is more than likely going to go ahead and start the season on the IL. And I think that's one of the big factors that's going to be happening with this Dodger roster is the fact that you have guys who are nursing injuries, and these are people that, as a result, these other guys might get a chance because one of the things we haven't
Sheehan
discussed,
is also going to start on the injured list as well.
right? But James Paxton, once they come back to the States, James Paxton is going to be added to this roster. So again, this is going to become a numbers game, and I'm very curious what the Dodgers are going to do. So that's why, again, for me, Kyle Hurt is going to start in the minors. You have the luxury of keeping him down there. Now, what sucks is he is pitching very well, and I feel like pitchers have a very small number of bullets that they can throw, and you would hate for him to be using up those bullets. I probably should not use that example. I should use something else. But they have a very limited number of throws and
Bubbles.
of bubbles. Okay. You don't want him blowing his bubbles in the minor leagues. You want him blowing the majority of his bubbles in the major leagues. But I'm telling you right now, Amy, I can already see it. Dodger fans are going to throw a conniption when the Dodgers announce that Kyle Hurt is going to start the season in the minor leagues.
I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. So we can want him to play, but to your point, it is a small sample size. Maybe he's doing really great right now. Maybe he will continue to do great in the minors. You've got Paxton, we've got some of the other guys that are going to be coming back probably sooner rather than later. They're going to go with the more veteran arms probably than they will some of the rookies that are coming up. But I think because we are trying to get them rest wherever we can shift people, we're going to try to do that, especially with Yamamoto, trying not to have him go, too many days not in a row, but that succession between is it either a 5 or a 6-man rotation. I think that's going to play into it. So if they can move people around and try to get that length out of everybody and keep everybody healthy across the stretch, then I think that's going to, egos probably aren't going to be involved as long as they get to play at some point.
I mean, Kyle Hurt, I mean, I don't think Dave Roberts said that. There's a reason why he said that. So I think because of the fact that you have Glasnow and you have Yamamoto pitching there, Michael Grove and Gavin Stone and Yarborough, those are all guys that you would use probably in a piggyback game. Now, I don't think you're going to keep all 3 of those guys off the active roster because in case something goes wrong in either one of those games, you want to have that length. But because we may not need Gavin Stone, I think it is going to open up another roster spot. So I could see Kyle Hurt just to clarify here.
Wait, we may not need Gavin Stone?
Not in Korea because it's only 2 games.
Oh, yes. I was like, wait, what? For the rest of the season? What?
So that's why I want to clarify this. Okay,
Got it.
I can see Kyle Hurt being active for the 2 games in Korea, but once they come back to the States, it's a numbers game. That's where I feel he's going to start his season in the minor leagues, and that brings up another question for me, Amy, and that is. They're playing 2 games in Korea. Do you think this is does it feel like the beginning of the season for you?
Not yet. I'm hoping it will. I think also the 3 a.m. starts are a little bit of a, I'm sure we're going to talk about that later, but the time difference, like when I woke up this morning and rewatched the game, it was like, I know everybody else has already seen it. So
Yeah, so that's why, like, for me, it's like, okay, it's 2 games. Like, I do still feel like the real season starts when they come back to the States and they're gonna play against the Cardinals, and that's when you're really gonna see what the 26-man roster looks like. So, the fact that Dave Roberts said he's got a good chance of making the roster, Kyle Hurt, it's because it's 2 games. And like I said, unless something goes drastically wrong, I don't think you're gonna need both Grove, Yarborough, and or all 3 Gavin Stone. So that does go ahead and open another spot for the active 26-man roster for just the 2 games in Korea.
Well, and there have been some rumors as to who may be the 5th starter. So we know at least for these 2 games.
Well, I think that's been the worst kept secret. I mean, the way once Emmett Sheehan went down, and the way Gavin Stone has been pitching, I mean, didn't Roberts just come out and say it?
I think he did after the fact. I think there was speculation across social media at first that Gavin Stone said that Dave Roberts said that he would probably be the starter, but it was like he said, she said, maybe, and then I think Dave Roberts finally came out and said yes.
Yes. So Dave Roberts came out and officially announced Gavin Stone as the 5th starter. So I think in that situation, you're going to see Gavin Stone probably be piggybacked by either Ryan Yarborough or Michael Grove. But look, to me, Gavin Stone looks like a completely different guy than what we saw last year.
And that's what Dave Roberts was saying, I think, in even the press conference after today's game, was that, he's a much more mature pitcher. He put on that weight. He's put in the work. So from going from being great and, prospect status to coming up last year and having a little bit of a rocky start and then coming in this year to a little bit stronger start, like he's looking pretty good. And he came in and piggybacked with Miller yesterday. And I think that worked out pretty well. And then they had Fireisen come in, and I think he closed out the game. The last two batters he saw.
See, JP to me is the interesting part. I don't know where he fits in this bullpen, right? Because he was hurt all last year. So we don't know what he can do. And this is, again, he's another reason why I can see Kyle Hurt starting the season in the minor leagues, just so the Dodgers can see what do they have in JP. But I want to go back to Gavin Stone's numbers this spring because I think they're super impressive. 14 innings pitched. He's only given up 1 earned run, 17 Ks, and he's only walked 1. And for me, what's super interesting about the 17 Ks was that game that he had, because all these numbers include the numbers where he pitched in the exhibition game in Korea. He went 3 innings and a third. He had 8 Ks in 3 innings and a third, and he had a walk. I mean, Amy, the way he's pitching now, this is everything I heard last year about this kid, and it was the fastball and it was the changeup. The changeup is what I heard the most about. He has a devastating changeup. He has a devastating changeup. You saw in spring training a 10-mile-per-hour difference between his fastball and his changeup. And if he can consistently, because what was obvious to me last year was that his fastball wasn't good enough. And I feel like these guys were starting to just wait on his changeup. Now, of course, there was also talk about last year he was tipping pitches, and they feel like they've gone ahead and fixed that. But I am very impressed with Gavin Stone. And I had been saying for the longest time, this guy's a trade chip. This guy's a trade chip. Trade him. Look, again, there's a reason why Andrew Friedman has the job that he has. And I'm sitting over here fighting with Mookie and telling him to be quiet as I record in my basement.
Stop. No, but he did really great. I'm just looking over my scorecard from today's game. You're right. He had the
I'm sorry. You said you were what?
I'm going over my scorecards.
Nerd alert! Beware, beware. There is a nerd in the vicinity. Hey man, someone's nerding out over here.
I want to commend you, Amy, because I think that's the longest we've gone in the show without you nerding out. I mean, we almost made it to the 40-minute mark, so that right now is your top score. So I'll
Because
shut up
I
now.
don't have control of the button when you're having your little Stalloners moment. I'm
No,
just
no,
saying.
no, no nerding, no
Oh,
nerding with
yes.
Owners
Oh,
Club.
yes. Oh,
That's
yeah.
very
I
real.
said it.
That's
I
very
said what
real.
I said. I said what I said. But yes, the 8 strikeouts, but any of the contact, he limited it. There was a line out, there was, and again, I don't think enough has been made of this. Mookie, Lux, Muncy, they made some great plays in both of these games. And it feels like lately all we hear is the negative stuff about them of like, oh, they're not playing well. I was super stoked that Joe and Oral called out, what a great play by Muncy, or look at what Gavin Lux did over there, or check out Mookie's form, because I want to see more of that positive reinforcement in the game because one, these are the players we have, so let's get used to it. And two, let's call out the good things too. Let's not just look at the negative. And they did great. Mookie had a great play. Throwing, it was just a ground out, but getting that over to the bases, saving Stone from a potential run or at least an on base hit. I think Stone only walked one, and then, like I said, that line out. So really, only contact was made twice, and then he walked somebody, and then the rest were all strikeouts. So great job.
A good call out, by the way. Muncy made a great play down the third baseline. Gavin Lux actually looked okay at second base. And I know people were making a big deal about those plays, and I understand that it's a small sample size. But if you do get improvement from those guys and their defense, and that's all just, I think, just like gravy for the Dodgers at this point, because if those guys aren't hurting the team, it just gives them more options late in games. You don't have to worry about replacing them defensively.
And Kirsten Watson was actually interviewing Mookie in the middle of the game, not your mother-in-law's dog, but the actual player. And she had mentioned that the KBO ball that they're using in these games, it's a little bit smaller. The seams are a little bit higher and a bit softer. And Mookie mentioned that he didn't realize they were using a different ball. But she was asking him, is it harder to track when he's on the field or when he's hitting? And he said he could feel the difference, but he couldn't see the difference. So like he wasn't even aware that they were using a different one. So just something else to keep in mind for these 2 exhibition games. I don't know if they're going to change that and use a regulation ball when we play the Padres, but just, they're also, I feel like this was a really good sample the last 2 games. I mean, that other game, what was it? I'd have to count all of my squares because there were so many runs in the Saturday game. Like, this is what our team looks like on paper translated to a game. Like they were gelling, all of them offensively. It looked like they were doing a pretty good job. When they were on the field, you could see them firing on all cylinders. Like this is what I want to see when they go onto the field. And I think they did a really good job in these 2 exhibition games.
Yeah, I mean, they look like they're ready to, let's go ahead, let's play these games. The different ball, that does surprise me a little bit. It surprises me that Mookie didn't realize the difference between but I fully expect them to be playing with the the regulation Major League Baseball when they play the show pods. I kind of almost wish that wasn't put out there, that they were using a different ball, because there was a lot of speculation last year that Major League Baseball had changed the ball. Like I feel like Major League Baseball really doesn't do a very good job of being transparent when addressing these narratives. So then when these narratives take off, it just goes full conspiracy, and like, oh, the numbers aren't really real because they're using a different ball, like when we had the whole Stickum thing. So I fully expect them to use a fully regulation. And I don't know if you heard that one, Amy, but we had tremendous thunder over here where I'm at.
Oh
I, I
man,
was
that means it's coming my way.
I
I'll
was
keep an eye out.
totally expecting Mookie to go ape shit at this point, but I love that Mookie just saved it for the very beginning of the show. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We started off a little rough, but I'd like to think that we kind of, we landed the plane safely. Amy, any last words?
I'm excited. The regular season is just around the corner. Woo.
That's right. So let's do some business before we end the show here, guys. Once again, if you were listening to us on the audio portion on the podcast, make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Make sure you rate us, write us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Hit that notification button. Give us a thumbs up. Leave us some comments. Let us know in terms if you are a part of the School Owners Club. Feel free, man. Fly that. Be proud. Make sure you guys are following us on social media on X at BB Shangri-La, on Instagram, Threads, and Twitch at Baseball Shangri-La. She is Amy Cuevas, and I am Juan Ramirez. You have been listening or watching Baseball Shangri-La. Amy, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye, people.